incredible grants and those who are interested in the International Leading Well Network. It is an absolute joy and privilege to be able to to have all of you with us here today. It's incredible. So we are going to use our first hour to make sure that you get to hear a little bit about the Leading Well Network, and as well this extraordinary, I want to say extraordinary, small grants program because it is alumni designed and alumni led, and it's just been extraordinary to watch it come into being. And you're going to hear from Andrea Alexander is going to be sharing that with you. And then you'll hear from each of our 6 grantees, and they won't talk long, but enough we hope that you can hear about the context of the work that they are working within and the intervention that they're doing and why. We in the Leading Well Network deeply believe in the symbol of the circle. And you see it in our logo. And it is this idea that you are coming to a well. So we're thinking that we're here over the next few hours at a well, gathering, sharing what we know, learning from one another, and that in that circle, that power of the circle, we are all better. So the second hour, we're going to make sure that you have time to drop in to each of the, if you wish, each of the 6 grantees breakout rooms. You can ask questions, you can share resources. How might we be of support as the greater community, as the greater Leading Well network, and support these grantees as they move forward. And I'm sure we will continue to learn from them. And then we'll close, and as I've been listening to each of these presentations, I think this time is going to absolutely fly by. So what is the International Leading Well Network? You see here that you can see our logo. The idea is hopefully that circle and that well, and that was designed by one of our amazing Community Solutions alumni, Valeria, and with great thanks to her, we have that. But our vision is to make sure that none of our alumni ever feel alone, that they are held, that we help, as we like to say, we help the helpers so that they can do their great work and very much over the long haul. We come on fellowship. We're often in a tight community. We get to support each other. We're fed with training and funding and the ability to just rest. And so we want to make sure that that is a possibility throughout a community development's professional career. So that's the hope. Like I said, we love to say we help the helpers. The idea is that you have a place where you can gather, that we not only we're all not only given support, but we help each other, and that it is a place where we can both thrive and model excellence. We are held and we are held accountable. And I have learned over the years with my own mentor, Angela Sarian, is that I always knew that she would hold me, but also call me to my best. And that is the hope that we can do that for one another and have a lot of fun in the process. Enjoy. You can tell you are all in incredibly good company right now. And it always pains me a bit that you don't all know each other. And so the hope is that the Leading Well Network will create this place where we can have a lot of fun and continue to gather and learn. Uh, so we have 3 pillars or 3 legs of the stool where you can come and rest in the community in the Leading Well Network. We have communities of practice, and I think we are in our 3rd or 4th year of allowing creating a space where an alumni can come and be held confidentially and to think about and consider their leadership challenges. Each month, a different person takes a turn bringing a leadership challenge to the group. And there's a moderator, and thanks to many of our moderators who are on this call today. You will meet them. They are going to be moderating our breakout room, so you'll get to see that in action. And it's a space where, again, you're held and held accountable. And this has been incredibly valuable for us. People bring challenges, everything from I don't know what to do with this particular employee to I have had a major loss in my family and I just don't know what to do next. And so to know that you've got folks that are at your side and that you are able to support them in this giving and receiving, we create an incredible virtuous circle. Advanced training. We do moderator training, we've done mentor training, and we hope to continue to expand that training. So it's not only just me doing training, but you are such an incredible group is to make sure that we can be sharing our gifts and talents with one another so that everyone is better. And then last but not least, and that's what brings us together today, is our small grants program. The Leading Well Network was originally founded in 2016. I asked on each of our programs that I've been lucky enough to work on, and I've now worked with over 5,000 of you wonderful people across dozens of different programs. But most all of them ask for a follow-on project. And I was feeling bad. I'm asking everyone for a follow-on project, and I didn't have one. So I created the Leading Well Network just to be able to provide additional training. This came into really handy during COVID. We were able to create weekly training, so that we could all gather while we were stuck at home. And in last year, with the grace of some seed funding, we were able to formally found the International Leading Well Network and make it an official 501c3, tax exempt, and do all of that wonderful work. And I want to call out to our amazing board members who made that possible. We have Annie Mann, Megan Allende, Vincent Yang, and myself. And so it has been just a joy to see this come into being. Now, it's really, really come into being because early 2025, I put out a call and I said, here's what's possible. And an extraordinary group of volunteers from the Community Solutions Program came forward and said, yes, we would love to help you to design this small grants program. We would love to help you to figure out how we might figure out fundraising. Communities of practice, and the list goes on. Many of those folks are on this call today. I know I won't say all of their names, but I know that we have Magda and Saeed. I think Shraddha might be on here with us, Nancy, Mirshan, Andrea, and Yoke and Chen, and I know I've forgotten a whole bunch of you as I'm looking. I can see the slides, but I can't see all of you, so I will keep pointing people out. Thanks to them, we have this incredible small grants program and all of the other components of the Leading Well Network. You look at these slides, and that's because Chen knows how to make things absolutely beautiful and align my thoughts. I want to call out especially Andrea Alexander, who, as we think of, she has been our den mother, a 2012 Community Solutions fellow who has got us really to this point and organized enough that we can have a mini summit. And we were, thanks to some generous donations, we'll be able to hire her as our interim executive director. So we say interim because we have to contract when we start out. So you have to say interim. Last piece of the puzzle is you say, why is it just Community Solutions Fellows right now? And that's something that those of you who are part of other programs might be saying, why is it just Community Solutions? I sent a call to them because I know them all very, very well. They are all committed community development professionals, which is the nature of the mission of this organization. And they bring expertise that we need to make this all happen. So we're starting you all as the Community Solutions alumni are, you're creating this core. And we hope to be able to expand it to other programs like Young Southeast Asian Leaders, like the Community Engagement Exchange, which is similar to Community Solutions, but for a younger age group, um, for the Middle Eastern Partnership Initiative, and the list goes on. There are amazing uh, leadership development programs that actually have all been canceled and last year, and so they're finishing up this year. And this, we hope, will also make sure that you all have, as alumni, a place to rest, a place to thrive, and a place to help. So I'm going to pass this on to our executive director, Andrea Alexander, to tell you a bit about the Small Grants Program. Can you see that all right, Andrea?
Yes, great.
Perfect. There you are.
Thank you, Dr. Deidre, and welcome everybody. I'm really excited. I had a little frog in my throat when people were signing in because I'm seeing everybody that we've known all along, working as moderators, as alumni activators, and even from our brand new 2025 cohort. So I'm really excited about the time that we're sharing today. So our small grants program, we started working on that last year. And so now this will be our second year going into 2026, 2027. And the purpose of the grant is to further the work in a tangible way for the Leading Well Network, to support alumni-led initiatives, to advance engagement among our global network of change makers, and to amplify their collective impact. And this is a place where you are held as you try new things. Next slide. It's a space where you can try new ideas, grow them, and lead them in your communities. And that's what we're funding. That's what we're building together in communities and throughout the world. And so what does this program support? What we're doing now is we're building our alumni project fund. The next slide. And this is where we provide financial and technical support to our applicants and to our grantees so that can pilot new ideas, they can scale initiatives, make them scalable, their community projects, and build sustainability through continued donor engagement. This is where we generate new ideas and where we share learning. And how does this work? Applications will come from active community members who are eligible to apply. They are granted a ID number as soon as you receive them. And so we have massed reviews throughout the process. It goes through about 3 tiers. There's a team of reviewers who work with us from among our alumni, who are selected for their knowledge and expertise and understanding of community projects. And they go through some training as well. And applications are reviewed based on these 6 criteria: impact potential, sustainability, project feasibility, and community engagement among them. Then they are scored and sent, the review summaries are sent to a panel who then collate those scores and help us to produce a final shortlist, which is later ratified by our board. So we try to be as transparent as possible, as stringent as possible, as dedicated as possible. And we had an amazing team that worked with us last year to make sure we could select the best and the strongest applications and proposals from among all those that we received. Yeah, we can move on to the next. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right? And so that tiered process allows us to be as transparent as possible and to answer the questions based on 6 criteria as we come up with our shortlist of grantees. What makes our alumni project fund unique? It's a partnership model. It's a model where the Leading Well Network works with our grantees as a consulting partner to create an asset, a fundable asset that improves projects and impact, that analyzes the data, that tests those projects and helps to build expertise. So it's a funding partnership. It's a monitoring, evaluation, and learning support through the process where we generate data and insights, as well as prepare them for funding readiness beyond our fund, but to help them support with continued funding. What else is unique about the Alumni Project Fund is that we continue to work with we can go to the next, that we continue to work with our alternate grantees. That's what we call the group of applicants who may not have received funding throughout the cycle. And we call it a feed forward, not just a feedback, but a feed forward strategy process. There are conversations that we have with them to review their proposals, to help them prepare funding pitches. We continue to match alternate grantees and our grantees with mentors and technical advisors to support them through the process. And this connects as well with what we're building with our volunteer care strategy. We really respect the commitment and the input, the meaningful contribution of all our volunteers. Any of the work that we do happens because we have dedicated groups and teams of alumni who share their expertise, share their commitment, share their energy and all their knowledge to help us build our programs, build our communities of practice, help us build all of our projects. And what we're building now is a model that is of mutual benefit to them, to help them to continue to learn and grow with us at the Leading Well Network, to share all the ideas and to help us build training and certification pathways. Along with that, we're also building a knowledge hub where we continue to share data and understanding of projects with case studies. And that helps us as well to continue the collaboration and engagement throughout the network. And so what we're building here is collaboration, scalable impact, shared learning, and a stronger network together. And the journey with our grantees and the journey with our applicants, the journey that we're making with our donors as well, is what is your vision as a change maker? What is the future that you want to build? The little bit of seed money, what can we grow together? What can we change together? What do you envision that can be new and different in the world? And so how will you use this opportunity to move your vision forward? And today we're going to hear from 6 amazing alumni who have done just that.
You're wonderful, Amina.
Hello, everyone. Okay. Let me start with a simple question. What happens when a woman has potential, but no opportunity? Simply not because she lacks the talent or ambition, simply because the system around her does not support her. My name is Amnat Ali. I'm from the Republic of Maldives. And today I want to share my story, a story of women, resilience, and a journey called Vunayar, a business companion. The Maldives, when anyone hears, they often see or hear it as paradise. Beyond the beauty, we are a nation of 1,194 islands with only about 200 inhabited islands. Our communities are scattered, connected by ocean, but separated by opportunity. I come from Hitadu Addu city, a community of about 13,000 people. Like many islands, what we have is a strong community, but limited access. That reality affects women the most. Before I speak about the project, I want to share a part of my story with you. I belong to a family of 11. From this family, I'm the first woman in my family to get higher education. I'm the first woman in my family to not get married at the young age of 16 or 18. I'm the first one who had the courage to take the bold decision to move across the country. With these decisions, today I lead a campus of the largest university in the Maldives National University. I'm also the co-founder and the president of Association for Women Empowerment Maldives. Now, this journey wasn't mine alone. Behind me stood my biggest supporter, my mentor, my brother, who has supported me in my journey to break barriers within my family, within my society, who has encouraged me and supported me throughout. When others questioned my decision, he stood beside me and said, "Let her try." When I moved to the capital city for my higher education, or when I moved across the country, he didn't just support me emotionally. He helped me make decisions. He encouraged me to speak up. And most importantly, he treated my ambitions as valid. That made all the difference for me. Through my journey, I realized something deeply important. When one woman succeeds, it's never just her success. It is the support she receives, the opportunities she is given, and the belief others have in her. That made me ask, what about the women who don't have that? According to a 2025 report by the UNDP Maldives, in the Maldives, 94% of businesses are MSMEs. And interestingly, more than half of them are 52%. More than half, that is 52%, are owned by women. Progress, right? When you really take a closer look, a different story emerges. 61% of these women operate informally. This means they are working without structure, support, or growth pathways. Who are we talking about? We are talking about this woman. This is the woman that runs a small home-based business, like cooking food, tailoring clothes, or selling products from her home. She has customers. She has customers within her small community. People know her. She is working every day, but her business stays small. She doesn't lack skills. Her products have demand, but she is the woman restricted by her environment. She is on an island with a population of just about 1,000 or 2,000 people, where she cannot easily access larger markets. She does not have a network to lean on. She does not know who to ask for guidance, and she has never been taught how to structure or grow her business. So she continues working without growth. These women face geographic isolation. They have limited access to networks, and their business often remains small, not by choice, but by circumstance. So the issue here is not about participation. The issue is about empowerment. As mentioned before, women entrepreneurs in our communities face real barriers. They lack access to business and financial knowledge. They lack mentorship and guidance. They struggle to access finance, and they remain disconnected from larger markets. So despite their potential, they remain limited. This is not necessarily because they cannot grow, but because they are not supported to grow. This is where my project, Vunayar, began. Vunayar is a combination of two words from our language, Divehi, which translates to business companion. And the word companion here is intentional. Because what women need is not mere training. They need someone or something that works alongside them. Our goal is to strengthen women's economic empowerment by providing them with skills, mentorship, and access to opportunities. And this is not going to happen as a one-time intervention. That's a lesson we have learned, but it's going to be a continuous journey. Let me take you through the process. Let me show you what this looks like. When a woman joins Vunayar, her journey starts with a 3-day business literacy program. In those sessions, she learns how to track income and expenses, how to price her products, how to plan her business, how to market what she does. We use her business, her products, and her reality. After that, she is paired with a mentor. They meet at least twice a month, sometimes in person, sometimes over the phone. Together, they review her progress, solve real challenges, and make decisions step by step. When we train our mentors, they are not just trained in business. They are trained in coaching, listening, and guiding without taking over. We don't want to tell women what to do. We want to help them build confidence to decide for themselves. Let me share one more story about Shimla. Shimla is a tailor. She is skilled. She is talented. She has capability. She had customers within her small island. People knew her work. However, her business had no name. People knew her by her name. No identity, no clear direction for growth. She was simply someone who stitches. When Shimla joined Vunayar, she came in quietly. She rarely spoke. Even when she had ideas, she kept them to herself. During the program, something began to shift. Through the training, she started to see her work differently, not just as tailoring, but as a business. With her mentor, she began to ask questions like, what makes my work unique? Who are my customers? How can I grow beyond my island? Step by step, she started building something new. She gave her business a name. She created a simple brand identity. She began presenting her work more professionally. She started sharing her work beyond her island. She reached new customers, expanded her market, and the woman who once sat quietly in sessions started speaking. Today, Shimla confidently talks about her business. She presents on different platforms. As you can see from here, the screenshot I'm sharing is from her TikTok, which has 18K followers, which grew from just 200 within 2 years. She shares her journey with others. When I spoke to her last, she said, before I only knew how to tailor. Now I know how to grow. This is what economic empowerment looks like. It's not just about the income that women are generating. It's about confidence. It's about identity. It's about finding your voice. When a woman finds her voice, she does not just build a business. She becomes someone others look up to. And that impact goes beyond her, to her family, her community, and generations to come. This is the story of one of the many women we were able to make an impact for since since 2023. That is when our project began.
Couple more minutes, Aminath. We'll make sure.
So we are already seeing the impact. Since 2023, we have supported over 150 women, built more than 10 partnerships with local councils, women development committees, and NGOs that are working towards women empowerment and community development, and guided women through mentorship programs that are changing lives. We have trained 5 mentors who will continue with us in this journey to provide support. With ILWN funding, which is making a huge impact for us. Before the funding, our work was limited. We could conduct training programs, but could not sustain the mentorship. We could not expand to multiple islands. This funding is going to allow us to expand to 6 islands, train 30 mentors, build a structured mentorship model, and support women beyond training. Since receiving the fund, we have been able to train 16 women from one of the islands. They have completed the 3-day program. Collaborative meetings have been held with 6 local councils and women development committees, and we have a team of 9 members who are working to make this project a success. Now, let's talk about what's working well for us. We hold sessions in safe community spaces. We work with councils, WDCs. We train in our own language using local examples. Now, all this is helping us to build trust. The previous story, Shimla's story, reminds us of something important. Empowerment is not a one-time event. It is a process. Confidence grows over time. Mentorship creates accountability. And when communities take ownership, change lasts. My vision is simple. I want to see Wunayar expand across the Maldives to reach more islands, more women, and more untapped potential.
I know. Okay.
So where my journey started. I am a school social worker, senior school social worker for many years, a mother of 3. But on March 23rd, 2024, my journey started. My son was diagnosed with autism, also known as ASD, at the age of 3. Now, this shocked my entire family. My husband and I, our trajectory changed on that day. With many concerns leading up to his diagnosis, finally getting the reality that he is now on the spectrum brought in a lot of emotions. And it took us a good time to begin to accept this new reality. And moving forward, we began to engage the system of this new community I was exposed to in Trinidad and Tobago, with many challenges in terms of structural and systemic limitations. We began to access services. I was eager because I'm a social worker. I can do this. I know about networking. I know about connecting the dots, solving problems. But for once in my life, I felt helpless. I felt the need is there, but I had no clue of how to access the resources. It took me some time, but then I began to realize 18 months for my son to be diagnosed on the spectrum through the public sector. I had to invest, thank God for insurance, my finances to get the diagnosis. Speech therapy and occupational therapy, that is not subsidized by the government. You had to pay for this. Schooling, all educational institutions were not free. You had to pay for these services. And therein lied the gaps. And I understood the many challenges that parents like myself would have been faced with. So taking on the approach and knowing the problem, I decided to engage this issue from the perspective of problem solving. I understood that autism in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider region had many systemic limitations. I began to research and understood that not fully addressing psychosocial realities of parents, guardians, and neurodivergent children therein lied the problem. I understood now that families were isolated and lacked many support. We also understood that access to services remain limited and uneven in many geographic locations throughout my country, with over 1,000 families registered under the Autistic Society of Trinidad and Tobago and many more undiagnosed children in Trinidad and Tobago. We understood the critical need for inclusive, accessible, and community-based initiatives. So what then do you do with my skill sets, social worker, and having a desire, a passion for the creative arts? I decided to merge this with a driving force to advocate for the best interests of my son. I decided to form Artism. Artism was founded on the concept and the great premise that the creative arts approaches offer effective pathways for improving communication, social skills, and emotional well-being among children with autism on the autism spectrum. Artism was birthed in 2025. And as stated earlier, we wanted to capitalize on ILWN's network support. And we birthed this vision in my collaboration with my grantee partner, a psychosocial support through drama and education and creative expressions. We believe at Artism, we would create safe, engaging spaces where children with ASD, their families, and neurotypical peers can connect, building empathy, develop social skills, and foster meaningful inclusion within their communities. Why not sports? Why the creative arts? We understood that the creative arts therapy through research, such as including drama, music, and the visual arts, can produce measurable improvements in social communication, emotional regulation, and developmental outcomes for children on the autism spectrum. So Cupid's Doorway, which is an NGO formed by myself and my cousin, we birthed Artism under this NGO, and autism being one of our key pillars. Cupid's Doorway for Mothers and Children will continue to strengthen mental, emotional, and social well-being of mothers, reducing feelings of isolation and foster a supportive network of women who can learn from and empower each other. With autism awareness and family support being one of our key pillars, we decided to blend this approach to achieve the success that we want for our families of Trinidad and Tobago engaged on the autism spectrum. And therefore, Artism will be implemented as a weekly engagement program from April 25th to June 27th at a local secondary school from 9:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Now, the journey will be an educational-based, creative, and growth-based and inclusive expression. We will be looking at merging 20 neurodivergent children and 5 neurotypical children in the same space. Parents and guardians of our children diagnosed with ASD will also be engaged in psychosocial support simultaneously. Throughout the weeks of high energy engagement and, of course, the creative arts, our neurodivergent children and neurotypical children will be in a shared space, learning and building more of their skills. And that's not it. At the end of the 10 weeks, our children, alongside the support of their facilitators, their special educational aides, their parents and their parents' facilitators, will be putting forward a dramatic and theatrical spectacle at our local engagement space. And this is the intended space. It's called the National Academy for the Performing Arts, one of the largest performing arts center in our country. Our team will be working assiduously throughout the next coming weeks, engaging in more collaborations and partnerships with local personnel to ensure that our students and parents are granted the opportunity for their final showcase and more so for their learning and growing to occur. We want to continue to build this project with key areas of focus because our lack of knowledge into these new space, just as a parent with a passion, allowed me to understand the many gaps thus far in my planning process. I learned through training with the Autistic Society and conversations with groups such as Teachers for Autism and Autism Support, that there lacked many training for teachers and educators. There lacked many psychosocial support for parents. And of course, areas where key services can be supported, such as the creative arts, would have been very limited. So through our ongoing data collection process, our monitor and evaluation systems, through technical expertise from qualified professionals in the field of creative arts, as well as the field of special education, we will continue to build this project to be sustainable and impactful. We will be gathering quantitative and qualitative data and as you can see on the screen, this is pictures from our training. All right, we'll be gathering data, building the research, what we will need to create a best practice model that can be replicated and be sustained. Our next steps, as you know, we will continue to be sustainable through our grants, as well as connecting with corporate TT, Trinidad and Tobago. And our aim will be, after our second phase, we will revise and develop a curriculum to launch a handbook for parents and educators to support children with ASD as well as their families. And the clock is ticking, guys. So beyond the production, beyond the 10 weeks of excitement and culture, beyond enjoying, as you can see, special days and long nights with my son, this project that fuels research to support policymakers in the areas of inclusive education, arts and culture, and children's health is one that I continue to be grateful for because of the support given by ILWN. So I leave you all with this quote that says, autistic people are capable of doing amazing things when they are given the right tools and opportunities, according to Dr. Timlen Brandon. And I am thankful to be given the opportunity to do amazing things with the tools granted by ILWN. And I'm grateful to share with you this project. And also soon you'll be hearing more of what Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean is benefiting from this simple initiative that will continue to expand across the island. Thank you all so much.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I almost didn't make it to high school, and not because I lacked ability, but because of how the systems work. And later, when I entered the job market, I saw the same pattern. Access was often determined not by merit, but by whom you know and what you can offer. My name is Damaris Aswa. I'm the founder and acting executive director of Youth for Integrity Building Organization. This is a youth-led organization founded in 2023, based in Kilifi County, Kenya, and we are working around strengthening democracy, civic participation, good governance, anti-corruption, and social justice, particularly among young people. Growing up, I experienced firsthand what it really means when systems are not fair or transparent. After completing primary school, and my opportunity to actually join high school was almost lost due to financial instability and also informal practices that actually allowed opportunities to be influenced by money and connections. Later, as I transitioned into the job market, I encountered the same patterns. And these experiences made me realize one thing, and which is very important, that when systems lack integrity and accountability, young people are not just excluded, they are actually silenced. Next. But instead of giving up, it actually ignited in me a desire for change. I began to see that young people must not just navigate these systems, but also question them, engage with them, and also help in shaping them. And that is why I established Truth for Integrity Building, and ultimately why initiatives like Kilifi Youth Dialogues are so important, because without spaces for engagement, reflection, and accountability, these same patterns will continue. Next. And what I experienced is not an isolated case. It reflects a much broader reality for many young people here in Kenya. And Kenyan population is actually youthful, with about 75% of the population under the age of 35. And yet the majority remains oftenly excluded and actually underutilized resources in our communities, not because they lack ideas or maybe they lack energy or potential, but because too often they lack access, they lack platforms and meaningful inclusion in decision-making processes. In recent years, Kenya has experienced moments where young people like myself have gone to the streets to express our frustration and distrust. We have seen protests, we have seen voices being ignored, and sadly, we have also seen young people lose their lives, and many are still seeking justice up to now. At the same time, in 2022 general election, many young people did not turn out to vote. And as a result, many now feel so disconnected from leadership and decision-making processes. We are about 16 months to our general elections, and youth participation remain critically low, with only 19% in county assemblies and only 3% in formal leadership roles. And this raised a difficult but a very important question for me. Where do young people go when they really want to be heard, but they have not been listened to? Because when there are no structured, safe, and meaningful spaces for engagement, frustration actually does not disappear. It builds and it turns into disengagement and in some cases into unrest. Next. And that is why that is where the idea of Kilifi Youth Dialogues 2.0 comes in, to actually interrupt this cycle. It provides safe, structured, and inclusive spaces where young people can actually engage constructively with each other, with their leaders, and with their community stakeholders. And what happens is, instead of frustration building in silence, it is actually channeled into dialogue, participation, and accountability before it actually reaches that breaking point. Next. So why Kilifi? With about 1.5 million people, Kilifi has been my home for the past 7 years and a place close to my heart. While Kilifi has a vibrant youth population, many are excluded from civic participation and decision-making processes. Kilifi's rural context also presents inequalities and governance challenges. And that is why I believe in the energy and potential of Kilifi's youth, that when they're given the right platforms, they can transform not just their lives, but even the future of the country. Additionally, as a registered CBO, YIB gives a legal standing and community trust to actually operate effectively and sustainably. Next. So let me briefly explain how the dialogues actually work, because this is at the heart of this project. They take place monthly on the last Saturday, typically taking 4 to 6 hours, depending on the depth of the conversation. And each session is built around specific theme, be it leadership, peace building, accountability, mental health. And we bring in experts and practitioners to help ground the conversations. But the space is not designed as a lecture, it's a dialogue. And we have a team of 10 trained youth volunteers who support the process. They guide the conversations, ensure inclusivity, and create a safe environment where participants feel comfortable to not just speak, but also collaborate. So typically, a session flows into three parts. The first part is an expert introduces the topic in a way that is relatable and practical to the participants. And the second bit is that young people ask questions, challenge ideas, share experiences, and also reflect. And this is where we see an important and a powerful thing, that young people begin to build their confidence to speak in public places, spaces, and also to share their own opinions. And thirdly, we capture key insights, commitments, and action points through accountability scorecard, ensuring that the conversations do not just remain in the room. So while we are currently working with the full group discussions, we are also strengthening this model to also include small breakout sessions for deeper engagements. Next. So far, we've been able to conduct two amazing dialogues, each engaging over 65 young people alongside other key stakeholders. And we are seeing meaningful change, that young people are becoming more confident, they're engaging more constructively, and we are seeing a shift from blame to responsibility. Next. So these are just photos of the activities we initially took, like stakeholder engagement and project launch. Next.
Hi guys.
So in our in our first dialogue on youth leadership and peace building, our participants began by expressing frustration about leadership and governance, but as conversations deepened, something actually shifted. They began reflecting on their own role in promoting peace, both offline and online. By the end of the session, they made a collective Kilifi for Peace pledge, committing to be responsible in their communities. And in our second dialogue on ethics, accountability, and anti-corruption, another powerful moment emerged. So participants were actually challenged to think about corruption, not just as a system problem, but as something that is deeply personal. And this actually sparked honest reflections, and many began to recognize how everyday actions, small compromises, and those normalized behaviors can actually sustain the very, very system that we're actually criticizing. And again, we saw that shift from demanding accountability from others to also taking responsibility themselves. Next. What stood out most was how quickly this shift happens when young people are given space to reflect. They do not just talk, they engage, they reflect, and they begin to lead. Next slide. However, just like any other project, we're also facing challenges like limited resources to cover the whole county, political perception as elections approach, and some expectations for financial incentives. So what we are doing is that we are investing in fundraising, we are doing continued stakeholder engagement and deeper conversations with the participants. And despite these challenges, the demand is still growing. We are seeing more and more young people asking to join. Other sub-counties want the dialogues, and partners are also showing interest. And this tells us one thing, that this model is not just needed, it's actually working. Next slide. So we are constantly fundraising for additional support to help us expand the dialogues across all sub-counties in Kilifi, to strengthen our accountability mechanisms, to scale digital engagement and storytelling, and to continue building youth leadership capacity, because ultimately this work is not just about dialogues, it's about preventing disconnection, channeling youth voice into constructive engagement, and also ensuring that young people do not have to go to the streets to be heard. Next. I'd like to share one reflection that captures what this work is becoming. One of our supporters said, this initiative is phenomenal and I would like to replicate it in South Africa. And from a participant in Kilifi, this one said it was a space where ideas were exchanged, people were empowered, and no issue was left unaddressed. And this tells us this actually tells us that what we are building is not just relevant, it is actually replicable and it's impactful. Last slide. So I will end my presentation by saying dialogues shape minds, accountability shapes systems, and youth shape the future. Thank you.
My name is Luzette Kuwum, and I'm the Executive Director of Youth Empowerment and Resilience Network, which is an organization that works to empower young people to be agents of change in their communities. We also work with women and girls, particularly survivors of gender-based violence. A little history about how I came into this work. It's not just by chance. It's because in my community, I have sat down with women who have lost everything, women whose homes have been burnt. I have listened to stories of survivors that have stayed with me, survivors who cannot raise their voices because of the stigma associated with speaking up. I have listened to the stories of women who have been abused, who have been assaulted, and who have been left with children to take care of without any source of income. That is why I'm so passionate about empowering survivors of gender-based violence. We have a strong team that brings together different skill sets, and we are working together to ensure that the objectives of this project are met. The project is empowering survivors of gender-based violence in the conflict-affected Northwest region of Cameroon so they can be able to regain their dignity and financial independence. Talking about the Northwest region of Cameroon, there has been an ongoing crisis since 2016. And as we all know, conflict will always affect women and girls disproportionately. They bear the brunt of the crisis. Humanitarian report, the latest one says, over 6,000 people have been killed, 1 million plus are internally displaced, and we know it increases the vulnerability of women and girls in the course of moving from one place to another. And in the course of the conflict, cases of gender-based violence have increased tremendously. In fact, it is shown that there's been an 80% increase in intimate partner violence. We are talking about from the beginning of the crisis up till now. There has been a 13% increase in sexual violence, 25% increase in physical violence. These are not just numbers. These are not just statistics. These are the realities of women living in the conflict-affected Northwest region of Cameroon. Globally, we have it that 1 in 3 women are affected by gender-based violence. But in a very fragile context like us in the Northwest region, these numbers are higher. The vulnerability increases. And we have witnessed situations where sexual violence is being used as a weapon of war. I'll give an example. There are many women who have lost their lives because they had a relationship with one of the warring parties. These women were stripped naked, some of them were stabbed, their nudes were sent online, and according to the warring parties, it is acting as a warning to other women not to engage with any of the warring.
Again.
Please turn on your mic, Luzette.
Okay. All right. So survivors continue to face. Do I need to go back to the last slide?
No, you're good.
Okay. Survivors continue to face trauma and displacement. They continue to face stigma from speaking out. So most survivors prefer to be quiet, to be silent, and to not make their voices heard. They continue to face double victimization, first from the violence, and second from speaking out. most of them develop health complications as a result of gender-based violence. I'm going to share the story of Martha. This is a story of a young lady that has stuck with me from the moment I listened to her share it. Martha is a young woman who was kidnapped on her way from learning a skill. There were 3 armed men from the known state armed group who kidnapped her on a bike, took her to an uncompleted building. She was raped by 3 of them and abandoned. She was later found and taken to the hospital. But that experience did not leave Martha the same. She became traumatized. She became isolated and could not integrate in her community like before. Martha was referred to our program by her sister, who is aware of the interventions that we carry out in the community. I still remember the first day she came into the program. In fact, the first day of the program, when we called her, she could not come. But as we talked with her again, she was able to make it on the second day. She was very quiet. When she discovered that there were other survivors in the room who were sharing their stories, she was more open. She was able to share her story. She went through counseling and trauma healing. And as we progressed with the program, we could see her smile returning. And in her words, she was able to find hope again. This is just one out of many scenarios. And this is the reason why I am so passionate about empowering survivors of gender-based violence. With the support of the grants from the International Living Well Network, we have been able to carry out a number of activities. First of all, we started by engaging stakeholders from the council, from the hospitals, from traditional leaders, religious leaders, women leaders, local organizations to come together to know about the project, to understand the objectives, and to join hands with us to make sure that the project is sustainable. They also help to identify survivors that we are currently working with. Also, we have supported 30 women with training in psychosocial support, trauma healing, and they have also learned how to produce and market pastries. We have trained them on how to start and manage a business effectively. With the radio program, we've been able to reach out to 7,000 people covering the 7 divisions of the Northwest region through radio sensitization programs where we talk about gender-based violence, its causes, the impacts, and how as a community we can all join hands to stamp out gender-based violence. Community sensitizations have taken place as well, where we have reached out to students at the University of Bamenda, and we went to the market in Bambili, meeting the women where they are, meeting the community where they are, where they spend their time daily to talk about gender-based violence, to engage them in conversations and dialogues about ending gender-based violence. Though we've carried out all of those activities, there are still activities we need to carry out. We have trained them on starting and managing a business. Currently, they're finalizing their business plans, which will now lead to us distributing startup kits for them. We also plan to hold a workshop with men as allies. We all agree that most cases of gender-based violence are perpetrated by men. So in order to have a sustainable solution, the men must come in as allies to fight gender-based violence. Once they understand that, we'll realize that cases of gender-based violence in our community will reduce tremendously. And also, we have to set up a cooperative. This cooperative will be a safe space for women to come together regularly on a monthly basis to encourage each other, to share best practices, to learn from each other, and also to have access to microcredits that they can use to expand their businesses. Because of the context in which we are, most women don't have collateral. They don't have what it takes to get microcredits, and it limits how much they can expand their businesses. But with this cooperative, we hope that it's going to be open to survivors and other women in the community, and they can keep empowering themselves and growing. Also, we are working on a GBV referral pathway for the community. We are identifying resources, we are identifying structures, because we're in a conflict and very fragile zone. Most structures that existed have been destroyed. We have cases of hospitals that have been burned. Government structures can no longer function. How can you help us? You can help us by sharing best practices. You can help us by bringing in resources on how to work in a fragile context. You can help us by creating better systems that respond to DBV. So join us in restoring dignity, breaking cycles of violence, and strengthening our communities. We continue to do this because we are inspired by the resilience of women, seeing women who have gone through cycles of violence, but who can still stand strong, rebuild their confidence, and become ambassadors of change in their communities. The future we see is a future where women, especially survivors, are financially independent. A future where we respect, protect, and empower survivors, where empowering survivors is not seen as a privilege, but as a right. Thank you very much.
Okay, do you see my slides? Okay, and my voice,
Yes.
is this clear? Okay. So let me turn on my timer. Okay, I'm good to go. So hello everyone, this is Mahin from Bangladesh, and good evening from Bangladesh. I'm a counseling psychologist and a proud 2023 CSP alumnus. So for over a decade now, I have been helping people make sense of their pain and discover their strengths. And through that, I found the path to my own journey. And on this journey, I carry stories that inspire me, and those are hard to forget. The idea of this project began during my CSP fellowship. I remember a CSP fellow who went through the unimaginable pain of losing her child due to Down syndrome. She turned that grief into purpose, choosing to stand beside other children like her own. And then back home in Bangladesh, I met a brother who reached out because he was in grief and despair, just thinking about losing his sister to cancer. But the very next day, before we could begin our first session, he lost her. That moment truly broke something in me. And all of these stories stayed with me. And together they led me to this project, Path of Courage, a psychosocial intervention for caregivers here in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We believe behind every sufferer, there is a caregiver silently carrying the weight. These numbers clearly explain this invisible weight. In Bangladesh, 1 in every 877 people has cancer, and 1 in 589 children have autism. That is a total of 2.3 million people. And while we don't have exact numbers of caregivers, we assume that including all sorts of disease, the number will be significantly higher than 2.3 million. Meanwhile, 28 million adults suffer from mental illness, and 92% do not get any treatment. Given this, it is clear that caregivers are barely receiving any support. That's why we started this project to support 120 caregivers, prioritizing quality over quantity. For intervention, we have designed a two-tiered structure with 39 hours of direct engagement. In phase 1, we'll start with workshops, which will serve as the gateway for caregivers to engage with this project. We will run 6 workshops, each supporting 20 caregivers. The initial objectives will be to help them develop stress management skills and self-care skills. But most importantly, in this phase of workshop, we will screen the 24 most vulnerable caregiver with whom we will move to phase 2, which is the group therapy. In phase 2, we'll support those 24 vulnerable caregivers across 3 cohorts. Each cohort will receive 8 one-hour group sessions where we will help them release emotions through art. We will introduce trauma-informed self-soothing techniques, and we will also help them vent in a confidential, non-judgmental, safe space so that they can build peer bonds to support each other. As MEL, we will use two psychometric tools, the Modified Caregiver Strain Index and the DAS-21, to assess caregiver strain and emotional well-being at multiple points of this project. This will allow us to track changes and evaluate the impact we're having over time. We will also record attendance for all events, including, like photo and video documentations. To ensure participation, we have combined outreach with practical supports, like we are offering refreshments, transportation stipends, we are offering flexible scheduling, and obviously the professional facilitators to facilitate these workshops and group sessions. So here is a quick look at our timeline. After completing the workshops by April 18th, we will move into weekly group sessions through June and wrap up the project hopefully by early July. This will be the safe space we will be offering to our caregivers, where together we will share and heal. And we have recruited 3 volunteers to support this project and to engage caregivers in the workshop. We use digital social media marketing with posters and Google Form. Caregivers use the form to register for the workshop, and the best news is we have already met our expected number of registrations. So these are the 2 facilitators. One is a professor and another is a clinician, and both work at renowned universities at Dhaka. So talking about the challenges and the strengths, this project taught us 3 things. First, caregiver support is deeply relational. It is not just programmatic. That is why we built a 2-tiered intervention, starting with workshops and moving to group therapy. You will be happy to know that the initial interest from stakeholders confirmed the real need for this project. Second, the mental health stigma, which still remains as a real barrier. Caregivers often hesitate to seek support due to the stigma. And third, the availability of caregivers, which is often unpredictable. That's why we have opened this opportunity to include caregivers across different conditions like physical disability, mental health, heart disease, or even age-related needs. Despite all, we move forward because the need is urgent and the relationship we are building are worth it. And that brings me to my final thought. Path of Courage is not just about coping. It is about restoring dignity, resilience, and hope for those who care for others. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for your patience hearing.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Mega Ndi Nalutaya, and I am from Uganda. And I would like to first tell you about myself. So when I was 5, I lost both my parents, and I was raised up in a dangerous neighborhood in Uganda, where there is a lot of violence, a lot of drug activity, and even in my own household, there was a lot of violence, alcoholism, and all sorts of drug abuse. And it was very difficult for me. And then at the age of 8, unfortunately, I saw my sister bleeding to death because she had dropped out of school and tried to do a crude abortion, and then she died. And right there was the last nail in my in the coffin, so to speak. And I tried to commit suicide myself thrice, and because I thought I did not have any hope. And then Luckily, I was so lucky that I had a teacher, a wonderful woman called Patience, that took me under her wing, and she began to convince me that I actually have potential, that I have a bright future, that there is more to my life than the circumstances in my family. And I am actually lucky that she's here with me today. I brought her to meet all of you today. Yeah, so this is Patience. And because of her, my life completely changed. And I began to excel in school. I became the first person. I became the first person to finish high school and go to university in my family, and the rest is history. I am here. I have a doctorate, and I've founded Away Africa that has impacted the lives of thousands of others. So the difference between me and my sister, I believe, is not potential, but is just the care and nurture that I got from Patience, and that has turned my life around and helped me to touch the lives of many others. Yeah, so why is this very important? This is important because Uganda is a great paradox. We have extraordinary cultural wealth, we have extraordinary mineral resources, we have extraordinary positioning around the African continent, and yet, millions of Ugandans still live in poverty. 77% of all Ugandan children live in poverty. And so this is important because we ask ourselves then, what is the missing piece in the missing piece of Uganda? Why isn't Uganda living up to its potential of wealth and the flourishing of its community? And we ask what the solution could be, and the solution is leadership. So I believe that everything falls and rises on leadership. Whatever we are not seeing in Uganda is because we lack the right kind of leadership to transform our resources into solutions for our people. So that's why we ask then, who is responsible for being the kind of leaders that we need in our country? And we know that it is our young people. So like my sister from Kenya said, also us in Uganda, we believe that our biggest resource as Ugandans is not what is under our soil. Yes, we have gold, we have oil, we have all sorts of natural resources, but we believe that the biggest advantage that we have as Ugandans is our young people. So our demographic advantage is what is able to lift us from the poverty we experience on a daily basis to become the wealthy country that we can become. So I am 35 right now, and 75% of all Ugandans are younger than me. Actually, 78% of all Ugandans are younger than me. And for me, that is scary because our greatest resource is within our classrooms right now. So Uganda's youth bulge, these big numbers of young people that we have, are they a solution or they are a time bomb? I think that depends largely on how we raise them in our classrooms, because again, Ugandans spend 9 out of 12 months in school. And so how we manage to nurture them and raise them is what will either turn them into the solution that we need for our country, or a time bomb on the streets that will burn down as even the little that we have. So what's the reality of our young people, the one that we are talking about as our solution? Like I said already, 77% of them are in poverty. Many, like I was, are raised by, siblings. They are exposed to violence. They are, dropping out of school and suffering with mental health crises. Actually, yesterday I was shocked because there's a young person of just 13 that hung himself in school. So that's the experience of our young people. They're just trying to survive, and yet we need them to become the leaders that Uganda needs. So what I've done actually after CSP, my follow-on project was to start So Away Africa, which is a youth leadership development program that has worked in more than 460 schools in Uganda in the last 8 years. Since I came back from CSP, we have trained student leaders in 32 districts, about 127,000 student leaders. And so this work we've done and seen many of them rise up, like Tyra that I have over here, to start their own projects and spearhead solutions in their communities. That's what Sawe has done in the last 8 years. But then, thank God for the grant that we got from Leading Well Network, because it enabled us to go beyond what Sawe has done to now actually work with the people that have the responsibility and the ability to steward this work on a daily basis. So however amazing Sawe is, we can only be in one school at a time. So we cannot really be depended on to have consistent nurture for our young people. So, but what about teachers? They have the ability to nurture these young people on a daily basis. A typical Ugandan teacher has at least 100 students in their classroom, and their career goes on for about 30 years. So one teacher can have a very big multiplier effect in how many students they can impact. But the question is, do these teachers know that they have such power over the lives of the students? Do they do their work intentionally? The reality is no, they do not, because in Uganda, the big push is for academic excellence. It's for them to help their students to pass national exams. So our role then, through the grant that we got, was to start this program that we call SOA Educators, to provide education unusual, to reimagine the teacher to not just be a content deliverer, but to be a mentor, to be a model, a mirror, and a maker. To reimagine the school to not just be an exam factory, but to be a youth development institution, intentional one. To reimagine the classroom to not just be a room, where students learn, but to be a formation space where futures are decided. Yeah, because our young people require continuous intentional nurturing, because with more teachers like Patience, we can have more young people like me and not repeat so many of my sister's stories. So this is our theory of change. We believe that equipped educators will then become intentional teachers and mentors on a daily basis, who will then transform our classroom culture and empower learners, who will then become the ethical, creative leaders that Uganda needs, and then that will lead to generational transformation for our country. So I've already talked about the multiplier effect. One teacher influences thousands over their career. So that's why we want to multiply what Soaway has been able to do over 8 years to in real time, multiply it to thousands of teachers in thousands of classrooms every day. So this is a SOA Educators program, and our goal is to transform teachers into ethical, creative leaders and mentors who intentionally shape student character, unlock potential, and foster holistic youth development within schools. So our objective is to redefine the teacher's identity, again, like I already said, to become to realize that they are makers of the future, developers of human beings, to reimagine the school and the classroom, like I've already talked about, to address the person of the teacher, not just, the person that is pressured for results, but a person given the tools and whose well-being is cared about, and who is helped to realize that they have purpose and to overcome the burnout and all that they are facing, to then be able to become the mentors and role models that our students desperately need. So we also wanted to equip them with tools to be able to do that, and then to create a sustainable community for them to support each other while doing this. So then what did we do? We reached out to 860 educators. So every photo that you see here is work that has been done in the last 3 months. We started in January, and we had our last conference about 2 weeks ago. So we've reached 860 educators. We got a small additional grant to what we received from the Leading Well Network. And we were able to reach 13 districts. And so we had 3 conferences in Eastern Uganda and Western Uganda and Southwestern Uganda. Then the unexpected happened, because of the reach of our program and how well received it was. We received a call from the coordinator of primary school teachers, and he asked us to do a training for primary school teachers, so in 3 different locations. This we did not plan because we work with secondary schools and universities, so we don't work with primary school. So we've never done anything with primary school teachers, but because of how successful our program was, we were asked to train primary school teachers, which we did in 3 different locations. And we discovered again that the primary school teachers are very important because they lay the foundation. I don't have the time to tell you what the educators said, but I was very moved to see, educators in their 50s, 60s, shedding tears and saying, wow, I wish I knew this when I was younger, because my whole outlook of teaching has changed. And so what we want to do next, we have already established our WhatsApp community with all these teachers on, and our commitment to them is to give them 2 lessons a month as well as one for their students, and also to open up the community for them to share best practices, to ask questions and encourage each other. But the biggest win for us is to have more trainings in more areas, yes, but the biggest win is to have systemic integration. So we are already talking to people in our education ministry, which we've been partnering with for SOAWay over the last 8 years, to do a pre-service training for teachers. So imagine if this training that's changing lives of teachers who have been teaching for 20 years, 30 years, can be given to a teacher right in university before they set a foot in a classroom. So that's what we want to do a pre-service training for teachers, which does not exist in Uganda right now, but also to do a peer mentorship program where older teachers mentor younger teachers who are just coming in, and to also make this a national certification program for all teachers. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Mega, will you share just very briefly about the pledge that all of the teachers take before they finish their workshop?
Yes. So we thought that instead of just being a conference which they just leave, we decided to give them a pledge, which they read together at the end. And what they say is, today I stand not only as a teacher, but as a mentor, model, mirror, and maker. I realize that I'm a builder of lives, a shaper of character, a guardian of possibility. And they say that I will teach beyond the textbook. I will model ethics, responsibility, creativity, and hope. I will inspire young people to think, to question, to imagine, and to lead. I will awaken courage and nurture values and plant seeds whose harvest I may never fully see. But I commit to teaching with purpose and integrity, not just delivering content, but stewarding Uganda's greatest resource, raising ethical creative leaders. Yeah. So I've seen how teachers read these with tears in their eyes, and it's been very touching for me. So I am glad. Thank you, Leading Goal Network, for giving us the opportunity to create more patiences, because she literally saved my life. And she's gone on to save many more lives. And we want to multiply this effect and create many more teachers who can go beyond the textbook to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear teacher, for modeling what leadership is really about. And we are very honored to have you with us here today. So, oh my.
Thank you. Thank you.